It's no surprise that Onision has put his foot in his mouth yet again. He likes to speak about issues that he doesn't understand and doesn't have the proper information about. And this time it was about suicide. He encouraged people not to commit suicide, which in itself sounds fine, but he doesn't understand the reality of suicidal depression. I think he's talking to people who are more like going through temporary situations in which they're feeling really sad, and not actually speaking on clinical depression, which is something that leads most people to suicide. Um, the thing that he doesn't understand about depression is that it's not temporary. This is not something that can just be cured. It's something that can be treated under the right circumstances and with a lot of patience and a lot of hard work, but it's not something that's just going to go away. It's not something that making a video is going to cure. It's not even something that medication necessarily cures. I'm speaking from personal experience because I've experienced depression for the majority of my life. And I've taken medications, I've gone to therapy, and I work really, really hard to combat those feelings. But the reality is that it's something that just overtakes me and that I'm not in control of. And when I get into a certain really depressive state, I'm not myself. I'm now thinking irrationally and there's no reasoning with me. Before I went on antidepressants, I was depressed. After I started taking antidepressants, I became suicidal. One of the side effects of antidepressants is suicidal thoughts, and I happen to get those thoughts, which I had never had before. I also got nausea, I got vertigo, which is something where you get this like whoosh come over you where you get really dizzy and confused and you can't stand up. Um, I couldn't sleep at night, which I already had trouble sleeping, but now I was up all night long. I was anxious more so than I'd ever been before. Those medications just did not work for me. They didn't sit well with me, and they made my pain 10 times worse than it already was. What Onision doesn't understand about depression is that depression is not just a mental thing, it's a physical thing. You feel physically ill when you're depressed. You feel achy all over, you feel exhausted, you can feel numb to a point of like disconnection from reality. There are so many things that happen to your body when you're clinically depressed that don't happen when you're just a little sad. And that's what Onision is asking these people to live with. He's asking them to suck up the fact that their body aches, their brain is working against them. He's asking them to suck that up because people care about them, which is not even true for everybody. Personally, I think that that's selfish of other people to ask somebody who's depressed to keep living because it would hurt them. I would never ask somebody to keep living on my behalf. I would ask them to go seek help, to go seek therapy, to try medications. But if they tried every avenue that they could and failed, who am I to tell them to keep on going? For my sake, not for their own. Because they're certainly not going on for their sake. I don't want to say there's no hope, because there is hope. There are people who get help, and there are people who live really decent lives considering, and that's amazing for them, and I'm really happy for them. But there are definitely people out there who have tried everything and nothing has worked. And it takes a lot out of you to go through that over and over again. You're already in a position where it's more difficult for you to do things because you lack that drive and motivation that the average person has because of the way that you're feeling inside. And to go and try something and get all your hopes up because maybe this is going to be the pill for me, maybe this therapy session is going to help me, and then you feel worse. That can be devastating to somebody who is already depressed. So don't treat these people like they're selfish. They're not selfish. This is just something that they were born with and something that is going to stay with them until they die. And for you to kind of make light of that and think of yourself over them is just horrible. There's already so much stigma attached to mental illness, and people already hit so many roadblocks just because of it. I know personally, working is really difficult to maintain. I'm a really hard worker, and I will build up, 6 months of really great employment where I'm doing this great job and I've learned so fast, and then suddenly this depression hits me, and it's extended period of depression, where I wind up being forced to call out because I mentally and physically cannot get out of bed. I cannot leave the house. And I wind up having to call up and say, like, my car broke down, or I have some sort of like food poisoning or something. And then these absences start to add up, and my job gets put in jeopardy because I can't call up an employer and say, I'm feeling depressed, I can't come in. Most employers don't understand that. Most employers are just as ignorant as most of the public is about what depression really is and what it means and how it really affects your whole body and your entire like sense of self. And to call them and tell them I can't come in because I'm feeling depressed just is not an option. So people wind up losing their jobs over this. They wind up, in these really horrible situations specifically because they're depressed. And it's not simple to get disability either. And when you get disability, you kind of have to throw any hopes and dreams you have away because you can only work so many hours on disability, and any like real career goal you want you can't accomplish that anymore. You can't work on it. So then what are you doing? Like, you have nothing to aspire to anymore because either you get disability and you stay unemployed or very underemployed, or you suck it up and you go to work and you don't get this disability and you strive for your dream, but it's so much more difficult to actually accomplish when you're feeling actually clinically depressed. I don't think there's really any good advice I can give a depressed person because I don't know how to deal with my own depression. It's a day-to-day struggle. Some days are better than others, and I definitely still get those feelings, those really, really horrible thoughts. But, I do the best I can, and that's all that can really be asked of anybody. And if someone expresses to you that they're suicidal, the last thing that you should do is say, don't kill yourself because of me. That's the last thing that they need to hear. What they need is for you to stop talking and to listen to them and to really hear what it's like to feel depressed. You need to be a shoulder for them to cry on, and you need to be an ear to listen. Don't make it all about you. And that's what a lot of people do. They make other people's depression about them. They say, don't kill yourself because I'll be upset. Go through your life in physical and mental pain forever because I don't want you to die. I know how it feels to lose somebody, and I even know how it feels to lose somebody to depression. It's horrible. But it is nothing compared to the daily struggle of being clinically and suicidally depressed. The last thing you should do is guilt a person who is suicidal or depressed. They already feel this stigma. They already feel like an outcast. They already have enough internal guilt to deal with and enough pain to deal with. And when you put more shame and guilt on them, it's like, what do you think that they're going to do? That's not going to help them. They're going to feel even worse. It might actually drive them to suicide. Because when you're feeling suicidal, you're not thinking of, oh, well, my mother loves me, my best friend loves me. You're thinking of all the horrible things that are happening to you. You're not surfing YouTube for Onision's video telling you that you're being selfish for committing suicide. Someone who claims that they didn't commit suicide because Onision's video was not suicidal in the first place. You do not get cured from a YouTube video. That is nonsense. People don't get cured sometimes from years and years of therapy and medication. They are not going to get cured because Onision told them he was there for them, which he is not. He is not here for you. He is here for the money that you're putting in his pocket every time you watch his videos, every time you let him spew this ignorant BS. He's just speaking of these things because he knows that people are going to watch it and they're going to be outraged and say, hey, you won't believe what he said now. He is such an idiot. And that's what's putting money in his pockets. So at the very least, if you're going to watch his videos because you want to be outraged, go watch one of the mirrored videos. Do not put any money in his pocket for doing these things. He's just spreading misinformation. He's just further shaming people who are already having a difficult time. Onision is an exploitative scumbag. He does not deserve a dime. He does not deserve a YouTube partnership. He doesn't deserve a public forum to keep spreading this stuff. And you're telling YouTube that when you do not watch his videos. You're telling YouTube that when you flag him and you write to Google AdSense and tell them that he's offended you and he's spoken on an issue that personally affects you and completely missed the mark on it. Do not allow him to put food on his table through his destructive and despicable words. He's a leech, and he deserves to be kicked off of YouTube. And for those of you who are suicidal, I empathize with you. And I'm sorry that he's tried to further shame you. You have nothing to be ashamed about. You have an illness. That's like telling someone to be ashamed of their cancer. Or just get over their cancer. It's a real illness and you have nothing to be ashamed about. And if you're feeling suicidal, I hope you can find that outlet. That one thing that's going to change and put you on a more positive path in your life. But I understand if you can't find that, and I will not fault you for that.